Probably the worst thunder and lightning we have ever seen.
Quite a large chunk of it is directly above us.
Oh my goodness, that was terrifying.
As with all good sails, something slightly unexpected has occurred.
That's probably one of the most difficult night passages we have had. Just heard a shout of dolphins from up at the bow. You know what? All is forgiven. Ah, the baby one jumped. If you thought the rest of our passage was bad, this is the tricky bit.
The wind was a little bit crazy on arrival, yes.
I just feel like I redeemed myself.
Well, that was a bit of a close call.
Oh my goodness, what else can go wrong? This week's episode really did not go to plan. Everything had been conspiring against us since we left Bonaire. We got caught in those wind reversals, and then we tore our spinnaker sock as we arrived into Curacao, and then you watched us for like an entire day getting lost in the city, just trying to clear in. What we didn't show you was that after all of that diving in Bonaire, I got a really bad ear infection. So I was just laid out completely flat for a couple of weeks in recovery, and on top of all that, we had some truly awful storms going on for days on end, probably the worst thunder and lightning we have ever seen. All the boats in the lagoon were just spinning around each other. We showed you last week how we actually had to move the boat at one point because we woke up so close to the one behind us. That happened again, but this time it was the middle of the night, thunder and lightning right above us, and we had to lift anchor so that we didn't hit the boat next to us.
All right, so it's about 2 a.m, and there's been a lightning and thunderstorm going on like crazy around the boat.
I just want the lightning to go away.
I know, lightning sucks. Laptops and all of the devices except for this phone and mic are in the oven. Right, let's see if we can get the anchor up. And sorry if you guys can't really make this out because it's so dark, but yeah, we'll do our best. All right, I decided to just go for this. It's gonna wake up the neighbors, but it's probably better that than we crash into them, so. Engine on. 2 engines on. Now we need to find out if we can get between the other boats now that we've all spun in different directions. There's a chance that another boat is sitting right on top of our anchor. Nothing like a bit of drama.
So we've just come around to the west side of the anchorage, and hopefully, I mean, there's tons of space here, but I don't quite know how all the boats are going to sit when the wind swings. So hopefully it'll at least kind of hold overnight. And we'll see how we go in the morning. Anchor dropping.
And the lightning is now, I think, quite a large chunk of it is directly above us.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one actually was. So,
Fun! It's 3 o'clock in the morning now, and we're just trying to work out how much longer this is going to go on. It's really hard to kind of see any definition in the clouds, but we were like, oh yeah, we have a radar. So we're just going to turn it on and yeah, see if we can tell how big this thing is. It looks like quite a lot of stuff in front of us though.
yeah, lots of static in the air.
I don't like it when it's in front of us. So with all that going on, as soon as the weather calmed down, we just decided to carry on, head west, get to Aruba. It should have been a really lovely night sail, just a little hop to the next country. Obviously, that didn't happen.
We sat down this morning and we looked at weather and we realized that actually there's a really good weather window to head on from here to Aruba, which is the last of the ABCs and not one we thought we would necessarily go to. But what it does is it sets us up for a really good launching point to sail on to Colombia. And that passage is going to be interesting. There'll be more on that later. But yeah, so we're going to prep ourselves now. Bernie is literally putting together the last of our little saloon sailing bed. And we've had a bite to eat. And pretty much with a couple hours notice, we're going to go to another country.
Okay, come forward.
All right. This is slightly terrifying. There's a weird number of boats that just don't have lights on, and our radar is just covered in targets. And we've got lots of shallows to deal with, and weirdly our GPS appears to be tracking, I don't know, about 100 meters behind us instead of where we are now. Spanish waters could be an interesting anchorage in daylight, but unlike on our arrival, we're going to have to navigate through the narrow passages out of the lagoon and into open water in the dark. It looks pretty narrow on the charts, but it's even harder when you know that our GPS isn't accurate and there's a bunch of narrow spots to run aground on.
As we made our way slowly through the channel, I stood on the bow with a spotlight to check we weren't going to hit anything in front of us. With a tiny beam of light, we could just about pick up the shoreline. And as we reached our exit, we faced another challenge to our nighttime navigation, as the disco lights going off at the Sandals Resort really tested our night vision. Oh my goodness, that was terrifying. Coming out of that narrow channel and not being able to see anything, just had that torch. I mean, it is crazy bright, but still, when there's no moon, you can't see very much. We actually met somebody in Bonaire last week who watches our channel, thanks Gary, and he said, oh, I've got this torch for you should take it. It's like amazingly bright, it's super useful, and yeah, demonstrated that we needed it straight away. So thank you for that. That was really, really cool. But then as we came out of the like the exit of the channel into the big sea, and you had that nightclub on the side, and I mean, there was nobody there. They had the music blaring and the lights were absolutely blinding as we came past. So we kind of lost all night vision and just had to hope that there was nothing in the way in front of us, no boats, no anything. And luckily there wasn't, it was fine. But now we are just passing the sort of oil rig thing that has been our background view for the last couple of days, and we are just heading out from the island. There's not too much wind, so we're going kind of slowly, but we've got the Genoa out, and hopefully we'll get there tomorrow.
And as with all good sails, something slightly unexpected has occurred. Our fancy pants new autopilot that we picked up secondhand appears to have thrown a bit of a fault. So we are getting, basically it runs for a while. It's kind of, maybe the boat's cursed because it runs for a few minutes, maybe seconds. Then it throws up this error code, which is a drive stop, which as far as I can read might be either the brain is faulty or the drive unit's faulty, but either way it's not good news. So I've messed around a little bit, I've tried to diagnose it, and I'm thinking we're going to have to switch back to the old Ray, the autopilot that we took out, with the intention of making it a backup for times like these. Unfortunately, I haven't got around to that yet, so it means physically installing Ray in this little bit of swell. So that could be a lot of fun. Unfortunately, uninstalling and reinstalling an autopilot whilst in big open water swell just wasn't an option. So instead, we spent the entire night and most of the day hand steering our way across the Caribbean Sea.
We have been on 2-hour shifts overnight, hand steering the whole way, and yeah, it is grueling. That's probably one of the most difficult night passages we have had. Time just passed so slowly. You're kind of concentrating down on the instruments so much that you then aren't looking up at the horizon. So yeah, you just feel really, really awful, and it's hard to pass the time. But the sun has come up now, which is always a help. Ian is trying to get some sleep. I am just on shift for a couple of hours. I'll see how long I can go. I'm hoping that we'll get there just after lunch, but yeah, it's hard to know. We're not going as fast as we would like, kind of 4.5 knots. Wind picked up a little bit and we were getting 6 knots at one point, and we were like, oh yay, we'll be there in the morning. But we've slowed down again now. So the swell is like coming around the top of Curacao, and so we've got like converging waves in at 2 different angles. So we've had a couple of waves up over the transom, which has been fun. Other than that, we're just plodding along. Managed to stay awake for about 5 hours, but I am completely done in now. So we're going to switch over again, and I'm going to go and try and get some sleep. The weather's been fairly consistent, at least, which has made the passage that little bit easier. But in the last kind of 15 minutes, there's been so much trash in the sea. I have seen like some huge fishing buoys just floating along that I had to avoid. Loads of plastic bottles floating by. At one point, I saw like a lawn chair, like a big plastic chair just floating by the boat. So I mean, it's something to do. You've got to keep your eye out, make sure you don't hit all this stuff. Passes the time, I suppose. How are you feeling?
Much better after that long sleep.
Oh, yeah?
That made a big difference, yeah.
You were looking quite green when we last switched over.
Yeah, this passage, it's weird. I had a weird seasickness right from the start. So it's nice to get to sleep through it, and now this is fine. Like, I'm ready to eat again.
Oh yeah, let's eat.
All right, I definitely played my cards right. Not only did I get to sleep from 5 till 10, so I got a really good shift of sleep in, but actually, the minute I wake up, we have land. I can see land ahead of us. Aruba's right there. Her glorious wind farms that I didn't know she had, staring right at us. So, yeah, this is great news for us because basically I don't need to worry about staring at a compass or keeping a heading. I just aim for the land, right? Also, turn before we hit it. But yeah, so I'm gonna have a pretty easy run of it. And I think the wind might be picking up a little bit. We've had kind of, I don't know, 17, 18 knots, maybe 18 knots most of the time we've been sailing this passage. And because the swell has been like this, we can't put a spinnaker up, so we have to go at the speed of the Genoa. So that's kind of put us at like 5 knots, 6 knots maybe. So yeah, now we're able to hold some real speed because the swell's starting to calm down and the wind is picking up a little bit as we get closer to Aruba. So this last stretch might not take quite as long as we anticipated, which would be good because we want to check in during the day because entrance to Aruba is kind of like our exit was from Curacao. So yeah, I prefer to do that in daylight this time. I think we've learned our lesson a little bit there.
I just heard a shout of dolphins from up at the bow, so woohoo!
They're everywhere. There's like 12 or more. This one's doing flips underwater. It's ridiculous. Happy chappy, don't fall in.
I was just thinking, like, this was the most stupid passage we've ever done, and just being really grumpy about it, and we haven't got any sleep, and we've been feeling ill, and it's been a long night. And then I get woken up to, by the way, there's a couple of dolphins on the bow. There's a little baby one that's really cute jumping out of the water, and I get to sit on my dolphin seat, and I'm like, you know what? All is forgiven. This is not the worst passage ever. Ah, the baby one jumped!
Wow! There's gonna be at least 10, maybe 12.
Yeah, there's loads.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So hard to count them. Oh, we're getting tail flicks.
You're really
Having
playing
fun.
now.
Might be them away, I think. That might have been our welcome.
Oh, Aruba's awesome. We're just coming around into Orangaset and Aruba just now, and if you thought the rest of our passage was bad, this is the tricky bit. And of course, it's us. So there's a squall with thunder right behind us as well. Woohoo! Yeah, there's like a whole reef that runs down the side of the island. So we've radioed in, we've let them know that we're on our way. We need to go in a gap in the reef, tuck behind it, and go up to a customs dock to be able to clear into the country. But right next to the customs dock, there's a massive shoal that's only like 1 meter deep, which is too shallow for us. So yeah, we've kind of looked online, there's some photos, there's some charts, and we're gonna try and kind of weave our way around it and not run aground as we get to the dock. Oh my goodness, what else can go wrong?
It could be raining while we do it. Perfect. Squall just as we get close. Ah, I know what. We'll make it really awkward to maneuver around and make everything wet and slippy. Yeah!
And we are on the dock safely. That was quite terrifying, so we didn't film any of it, I'm afraid. The winds had calmed down slightly, maybe 25 knots, I think to 30. And we had to kind of like zigzag our way through the reef. And Yeah, then come side onto the wind with it blowing us off the dock and try and tie on here. Luckily, there's a whole bunch of fishing boats and stuff behind us, and they saw us coming in and looking a little bit scared. So they were like yelling over in Spanish, and we assumed they said, "Do you want us to help you?" So like 4 of them came over and took our lines and just like heaved us back onto the wall. But we did it. We didn't smash, we didn't crash, and we didn't drift and hit the reef. So halfway done. My goodness, I'm tired. And thankfully, that part was all successful. As always, the customs and immigration guys were like super friendly, really nice. It didn't take us that long to get cleared in. They've signed us all off. They came on board to check the boat and said that we're good to go. So they've recommended an anchorage up here just near the airport. They said that's where all the cruisers hang out. Apparently it's nice and quiet, nice and chill, nice water. So we're gonna, I don't know, sail or motor just up there a little bit and then crash out. And we're done. Well done, I'm not crashing into the dock.
Yeah, there's nothing like the pressure of like 4 fishing boats with full crew who'd done this since they were toddlers, and then you're like, don't look like an idiot, don't look like an idiot. But we didn't hit anything, so that's a win.
That's always a win, and I felt like there was a high chance of that today.
Hey.
The wind was a bit crazy earlier.
The wind was a little bit crazy on arrival, yes, but that's fine. It helped us actually, because where the dock was, where we were, the wind actually pushed us off the dock nice and gently, so then it was just trying to do a 180 spin in what is quite a narrow space. But I think it all went very easy. Well, that was a bit of a close call. Unfortunately, and I'm not going to say it, but somebody's knots didn't quite hold up when it comes to fender tying. And so I was suddenly realizing when I was counting the fender lines on the side of the boat, because they hadn't brought them in yet, and I was like, well, have you already brought in the bow fender? Because it's not there anymore.
Yeah, oops.
Some confused faces were on board. So yeah, well, good news is we managed to retrieve it, so all is well.
And whose skills was it? And helming the boat and like aiming right for this one little floating fender in the middle of the entire ocean?
Why should we have to practice this?
I just feel like I redeemed myself. First try! I managed it, I got us there. Anyway, we've got the fender back now.
It's mainly due to the excellent coaching, let's be honest. But yeah, we got the fender back, which is good. That's about, what, $300 we don't have to spend. I actually don't know how much fenders are. I just know they're really expensive for balloons. So yeah, first impressions, I would say what we were being told about Colombia and the people there being incredibly friendly and helpful is already showing itself to be true. The fishermen were very helpful for our lines, so that was nice. And I think this is going to be a very touristy island.
I think so. A lot of cruisers don't come here, they say it's too industrial, and I get that from like the clear-in procedure, but I'm interested to see what the anchorages are like. Not that we're going to have huge amounts of time to explore them, but
no,
just to get a little snippet of a feel for the place.
I'm already counting 4 cruise ships and a bunch of hotels that are like huts on sticks in the water kind of thing.
It kind of reminds me of Charlotte O'Malley in USVI.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we'll see if it measures up to Charlotte O'Malley.